AITA for not going to family dinners because they fit the time with my sister's schedule and never mine. I, 20F, work full-time, 85MF. I am currently working from home due to world events. I also live on my own. My sister, 18F, goes to college classes in the evenings and works a couple days a week. Ever since my sister has started her evening college classes, a couple months now, every family event is centered around her schedule. Her college classes start at 5 in the evening, so our schedules overlap, meaning, if we have dinner, they eat before I am off work to coordinate with my sister, so when I get there around 5:15 to 5:30, I'm stuck eating alone while everyone has already ate or sometimes is already leaving. The issue in this matter is my grandma's birthday party. My mom put it together. Same sort of deal. My sister had class, I had to work until 5. I asked if instead of centering it around my sister's schedule, if she could be the one to eat early and we fit into my schedule this time. My mom said it made more sense to fit around my sister's schedule. When I asked why, because I literally couldn't think of a difference it would make, she said it just does. I spoke with my grandmother and she said she would wait to eat with me, but everyone else wouldn't. She also could not understand the reasoning behind it, but she said since she was not the one cooking or planning, she didn't feel she had much control over it. I told my mom that unless we could start alternating, fitting with my sister's schedule one time then mine the next, I would just start skipping out on family dinners and that it was not fun to always have to be the one eating alone. My mom told me I was being an asshole and immature about the whole thing. I just don't feel it's fair the way we are doing it right now. Mine and my sister's are the only schedules that need to be worked around. AITA here, editing to clarify a couple things. Weekend dinners are not usually an option as my grandmother still works, by choice, on the weekends, so weekday evenings are usually better as she is not working. These family dinners are not a nightly thing. More of a couple times a month thing for things like birthdays, graduations, or sometimes just to eat, but it's not nightly. More like a couple times a month. My sister does not live at home either. She lives with her boyfriend, whole different train wreck, so she is driving to my mom's as well. Only adding this to clarify that they definitely could alternate between us since she is having to come over as well. They just don't. My parents are divorced and this is my mother's side of the family, so my dad has no input here. I do provide some of the food for the dinners as well. Sometimes I will bring a dessert or something, but usually I will provide some of the food that will be cooked, like meat to be grilled as an example, since I can't bring a side dish because everyone has already ate before I get there. Yes, this. If you can't do family gatherings, have your own dinner with grandma. Skip your parents and sisters since they apparently don't value your time. Alternating between schedules is definitely the fair thing to do, and not giving a reasonable explanation is because your mom knows it's not reasonable. Calling you an asshole is not because you are an aw. She gets defensive, because she knows she's in the wrong. Anti-A. Everything about this is a textbook red flag for abusive relationships. It is a classic example of deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. Google Darvo. The mother is in the wrong and she knows it. First she denied there was a problem, then she called up an immature in order to place blame on the victim. Emotional abuse is still abuse. Have dinner with grandma. Cut mom out till she respects you as an adult. Op mentions in a comment below that grandma works on the weekends, which I think is kind of important information to leave out. So in this instance with grandma it's a case of someone has to miss out. If sister is doing night classes then she probably finishes very late. So to suit Op's schedule essentially sister has to prepare something separate and wouldn't get to eat the family meal. Rather than Op comes late and eats leftovers. Or alternatively if I was Op I would just head over later with a killer cheese board and some scotch for supper. To be fair I moved out young and an hour away from my sister and my parents, before moving interstate, and I missed out on a lot of stuff. I wasn't salty, it just happens when you move out of home. I always made sure I made an effort to invite everyone to dinners and events at my house too so I could negotiate something that worked for me and still see everyone smile. Participant 1. This. I'd begin having everyone over to my place like every other month. Invite them. Ask them who is coming. Fix food. I would attempt to work around your sister's schedule. There would also be a huge jump in time with just grandma. You can make plans with her directly. Plan. Pick her up. Go do whatever. Time to begin cultivating relationships separate from your mother's planning. Good luck. I'm a ... fallen golden child. Like, I was better loved. No question. My mother did not want the boy child and was not exactly subtle about this between me and my brother, but I also grew into a queer, poly woman with no interest in social climbing. So I basically failed her. Pretty sure my stepsister is the current GC. She can have it. Shrug. I would flip the script on this right now and claim something as your own. Here's my take on it. My grandmother loved dessert. I mean, seriously loved it. One of her phrases I adopted was pudding before tea. She was British, so sub for dessert before mains. This is why I suggest this. If they aren't going to change dinner time when your grandmother is involved, claim dessert as your own. Just with her. Let her know you're bringing something special for just the two of you to share, and it can't happen until you arrive. Tell her it is food, and not to fill up too much, and leave everyone else out. They couldn't wait to include you on dinner. They don't get special dessert. Then, if you're still hungry, eat the reheated leftovers later, and hog all that just to be petty. Anti-A. I recommend starting to show up for events without even showing desire to eat. Eat tomorrow with your grandma because she says she is going to wait for you, but after this event, just show up to say happy birthday or hello. If they offer you food, say, no thank you. If they push, say that you are having something fresh later. If they care, they will get the message. If they don't care, they aren't worth your arguing or worrying. You can have a favorite child without giving them preferential treatment. Mostly it's not even a deliberate choice. But if one child has similar interests to the parent, they tend to get along better or be a little closer, because they have more to talk about. Same if one kid is shy and reserved and another and outgoing, the parent tends to prefer the child whose personality/interaction style is closer to their own. Not all parents have a favorite child, but it's not necessarily wrong or even a choice to have one. What is wrong is treating them unfairly, not respecting their boundaries, not meeting them where they are at and in a way they prefer, to the best of your ability, or actually playing favorites. I'm not a parent but I've worked with children. I definitely had favorite kids I worked with, and others that I didn't like so much. Sometimes it was choices the kids made, and sometimes it was just their personalities or interests, but I never let that affect my work, or how much time I spent with them. I tried really hard not to let them have it their way all the time, that I might have actually gone too much the other way and disadvantaged them a little. As a parent, I disagree. 3 children, no favorite. When their interests overlap with mine, their interests also change as they grow, and we spend a bit more time together. I enjoy the extra time spent. There is a difference between working with children as a job and nurturing and raising them from birth when they're your own. I applaud you for not playing favorites with the kids you work with. Not everyone could do that for sure. They do. My mom always waited for my middle brother to come home at night, while she didn't bother with my older brother or Ray. We were in our 20 and 30, so it isn't like wanted that kind of attention, but it showed how she was more worried for him than us. She also literally always said that they are 2 peas in a pod, while she has mentions how I'm exactly the opposite of what she would wanted in her baby girl. The last one is not exactly in a bad way, and she has said it very few times in my whole life, but it highlights how hard it is for her to connect with me. Thought I won't deny that it has fucked me up a little bit. In the other, I'm the favorite child of my dad. He's less obvious than my mom, but my dad is a really particular person and I'm the one more similar to him and who understand him the most. I have 2 older brothers and I'm the only girl, so my dad was extremely protective of me, but not to the point of suffocation. Because of this, I'm much more sheltered than other people my age, but he didn't prevent me from living my life. Outside of small details here and there, they always gave us equal attention, opportunity and love. It is great that you don't have a preference. That doesn't mean, however, that others have to feel the same as you do, or that it is wrong if they don't. Everybody is different. Not a parent yet, but we want to have a child in the future, and both me and my partner have a preference in gender and both kinda hope for a girl. That doesn't mean if it is a boy we will love it any less, of course, but I can see how parents with similar preferences would maybe have the preferred gender as their favorite. It is okay to have a preference. It is just not okay to let that shine through in how you treat your kids. I have 4 and tell them I have different favorites at different times. Lol. They're all teens now, but when they would bicker and say one or the other was my favorite or whatever, I would always go to a quote or something I read once. My favorite is the one who needs me more at the moment, the one who's sick, or the one who's going through something difficult, the one who has something special going on, etc. It has worked out over the years for us and lets them know that just because one may be getting extra attention at the moment doesn't mean that it won't change in an hour, and I hope made each one feel special at times that they needed it. I mean, some people do legit prefer to eat really early. My family has a bunch of seniors who really do prefer to eat in the 4-5 range, but that's because they're in their 80s, on various medications, and usually getting tired by 8. As someone who regularly works longer hours, that means I've occasionally had to eat the main meal by myself at family dinners while they linger over dessert. But then again, that's because there's an understandable reason in their case for not holding dinner until 7 or something until I can get there. It's strange that Op's mom can't articulate a reason for the early eating, and without a good reason, Op is anti-A for resenting it. Tell your mother her favoritism is showing, and you won't tolerate it. It's blatant favoritism as well, as they're eating early to cater to your sister, as opposed to a more normal dinner time. Tell her either they alternate or you're done. Stop going immediately, and refuse to return unless they agree. Go visit your grandma separately, and ignore them until they can treat you fairly and with respect. And your schedule is totally normal. It is not like that you work for 8 for example, and expect people to have to wait for dinner, but finishing before 5 every day is so early. I wonder how they are not hungry in the evenings. Here we eat at 5:30 up to 6:30 and finish between 6 and 7:15, and most of us are hungry again a couple of hours after that. So anti-A up. They are just being ridiculous. I have colleges that can start or end at work times, my sister sports, and my mom works at the evenings sometimes, but we are not scheduling around that all the time. Only some days for my mom, eating around 5:15, or when I am coming home 100% at 6:15, and that is normal. My sis is eating alone on some days at 4 p.m., and that is reasonable because it is too early. Your parents and sister are they should think about your sis and you. Eating alone every day is annoying AF. I already hated it when it was 2 days a week for me thanks to school, evening classes and or traveling time. Anti-A can you offer to only bring the meat with you when you come? Then they'd have to wait to eat. You have the main dish. If they make something different, cook your meat for yourself and take the leftover home. As far as dessert, make it something that has to bake, like pie, so it cooks while you eat, and then they can all come back to the table to eat it with you. A little conniving, but then, you've orchestrated some together time. Happy birthday to your grandma. Participant 2, Anti-A. Dinner before 5 is honestly really early, and it isn't fair that you aren't able to eat with family. In my opinion, it would make sense to plan dinners around your schedule timing-wise, and besides the way things are right now, your family is making you feel unwelcome. Your mom's reasoning doesn't make sense unless it means that they don't value your time as much as your sisters, which isn't fair. Yeah, I know the feeling, except my older sister is fed with a silver spoon and I get whatever spills over. The scheduling stuff got so bad with us we do separate Christmases now. Our parents go to her house then mine every year because she always would change the times to whenever my in-laws were doing theirs. I'm married with 2 kids. She is a single mother of 3 kids with no fathers. S is intentional, involved. I was thinking this. 2. One person having to eat alone sucks, but not as much as one person not eating at all. That way, the younger sister can eat and hang out with the family a bit before she leaves, and eats when she gets there and afterwards hangs with the family. If they switched it around, the younger sister wouldn't eat or hang out with the family. I don't understand why Op's mom didn't explain it that way. It makes perfect sense. I get that Op feels left out, but it's a tricky schedule to work around. Too bad Op can't get off a couple of hours earlier once in a while. And Op's sister having class every single evening is also weird, but okay. NTA. That's why Op asked to alternate dinner times. Op feels left out, because they are being left out. If her family won't even make an attempt at compromise, it sends a hurtful message. Op, I think if you continue attending, you should not eat there. Dinner is over. Even if it means you eat something in the car, I think the message you need to send is if you plan dinner for when I can't be there, I will just see everyone after dinner. If they are upset because you have fed yourself before arriving, then oh well, that's their issue. If they harass you over it, then your next step should be, if you are not happy with my after-dinner visits, then I will save myself the long drive and just see you some other time. And do take your grandma out for an evening. I'm sure she would love someone on one time with you. Sister wouldn't be missing dinner, she'd just get fed early. Op said the compromise would be that occasionally, sister would eat her dinner early, visit, and then go to class. This really isn't about dinner, though. It's about showing you care about a family member enough to put their interests at the top of the list occasionally. Mom isn't interested in doing that, because she considers the matter closed. She's also willing to call her own daughter an asshole for being upset about that. The petty side of me wants the Op to waltz in one day, carrying a doggy bag of food from a very expensive restaurant, preferably wrapped in tinfoil shaped into a swan, and offer her mother leftovers of her meal. Not a good idea, though. I go to bed by 8 p.m. because I wake up dumb early for work. Because of that, even on weekends for me sleeping in is 6 a.m. If I cook dinner at 6 p.m. I'd have to clean up and immediately get ready for bed. I'm not sure what his grandmom works on weekends, but if it's through dinner time maybe suggest a family breakfast. Brunch. I also remember when I was 18 I went to community college, so I lived at home while my sister was away at college. They'd talk to her once a week, otherwise no clue where she was. Meanwhile, if I wanted to stay after class to study with the group I needed to find a payphone and let them know. Living at home versus not definitely affects parental involvement. Especially if your sister is living at home. Them planning family meals around the time when everyone who lives together is home is not unreasonable, but it is unreasonable for them to claim you for a family dinner where you are left eating leftovers alone. For your grandmother's birthday, it is different. For her, since you can't attend the party due to scheduling, invite her out on another day at a time that is convenient for both of you, and have a meal out. Assuming you both are vaccinated and things are safe in your community. It can be a special time for the two of you, and avoids your grandmother being forced to choose who to eat with. Or else invite your grandmother over for a meal that you make for the two of you. If family dinner is something that you want, but aren't getting due to the scheduling problems, maybe consider hosting the family once a month or so, at your place, for a meal. Maybe a Saturday lunch or dinner. Nothing fancy, but something that gives you the time you want with them. That's one of the advantages, and responsibilities, of having your own place. You can have people over when you want, on your terms as a kind and generous host. If you can't cook, try roast chickens, green salad, and good French bread. Set the table nicely, and you've got a dinner fit for guests. Buy a pie or cake or ice cream for dessert. Family dinner means dinner for your parents with your sister. It doesn't matter if you're there or not. They don't prioritize you over your sister, so either stop going to family dinners or don't expect them to change and continue how things are. It could be that your sister is younger and needier and needs more support than you, which is probably a good thing. It means you are stable and she needs assistance. Once you stop showing up, maybe they will realize if they can't accommodate your schedule, They lose the privilege of you being involved in family dinners. There is simply no reason they cannot accommodate to your schedule once in a while. They are choosing not to. So time to choose to not put yourself in this situation anymore. You got your answer. Sometimes families suck, and it's best to create distance when we realize our value to them isn't where we think it should be.